Rajalakshmi Joshi, political analyst, also joins us on the show. Rajalakshmi, a couple of important, judgments coming in, observations coming in from the Supreme Court. Of course, the Aam Aadmi Party more empowered in Delhi. But what we're talking about right now is Eknath Shinde and how he definitely is going to be feeling vindicated today.
Yes, Vineet. There is a combination of statements and observations and pronouncement by the Supreme Court. There is obviously there are two parts to it. One is the order that says that it has moved to a larger bench. But then, based on the observations made by the Supreme Court, we can quite clearly analyze that the government will definitely not be in trouble. But then there are a lot of observations about the whip, etc. Now, coming to the stability of the government, the remaining MLAs also, a lot of them are waiting to jump ship. Now, the crux of the matter is that Mr. Uddhav Thackeray, he resigned before he faced a floor test. And I think that is where, a lot of things change. And that exactly is what the Supreme Court has observed. And that makes any of his claims right now come into a lot of trouble. Because, he should have actually faced the floor test, and then that would have maybe put everything in his favor. But what happened is now, since he has already resigned, so then, the complete picture changes. And then all these other matters about whether the speaker can hold the whip legal, illegal, or whether he should have investigated, all of that is a later matter. But then the fact that Uddhav Thackeray resigned and he did not face a floor test, I think that changed everything, Vineet. And so, in fact, even though the Shinde faction is facing a lot of other issues, like about many other issues, they have been called out, and I'm sure that even with a larger bench, I'm sure that also will be resolved, or things could come in their favor also. We can never say. But then the main fact of the matter is that the government will not fall, and that looks like a large possibility, Vineet.
What do you think happens to Uddhav Thackeray from here? Is he looking at political anonymity, obscurity?
Yeah, things are getting even worse for him, because there were times when actually he could have patched up with Eknath Shinde, and not just with Eknath Shinde, with the rest of his people. It was not just a matter of Eknath Shinde; it was a matter of all his MLAs. He has distanced himself from his MLAs. There was this weird arrogance by which he was closer to his allies than with his own party MLAs. That is what the main grievance was of all these MLAs. When they had written a letter also, they had said that they did not actually get any hearing from him. They did not. They were not even welcomed into his residence, and that there was this weird arrogance. So this thing has actually distanced him more and more from his own people, and it has kind of closed doors. In fact, I think some days back there was some attempt. I hear that his wife and his younger son, they had gone to meet Eknath Shinde ji, is what I hear. Now they probably are making some attempts, but then he has distanced himself completely. And the fact is that he has not put in as much efforts in creating this party, in building up this party, as much as the rest of these people who are belonging to the Shinde faction right now. Now, some of the people who are standing with him, yes, they have also been a part of the party formation. But then he and his son and his family, apart from Balasaheb Thackeray ji, they have not really been a part of all that struggle or that part of the formation of the building up of the party. So, that is why people look up to Eknath Shinde as their leader rather than Uddhav Thackeray today. Because Eknath Shinde is the one who guided them or who helped them through a lot of crisis, rather than Uddhav Thackeray, who had completely distanced himself. And those were the contents of that letter that people had written, during that time when in June, when they had gone off to Guwahati, and when all that crisis was happening, a lot of things came out as to how they were having a really difficult time. And if Uddhav Thackeray had stood by his people at that time, or even if at that time he had tried to mend the fences, maybe today he would not have been in this difficult situation and things wouldn't have got so far. I think in his quest for power, what has happened is he has lost it completely. So even though the Supreme Court has pulled up the Shinde faction for a lot of issues, but even then they have been left with one basic thing, that is the government is definitely going to be stable and with Eknath Shinde. And Uddhav Thackeray seems to have lost it all, Vineet.
Well, the Supreme Court also went on to say that there were a few mistakes made, Rajalakshmi. There were mistakes made by Uddhav Thackeray and there were mistakes made by the governor of Maharashtra as well. Do you think that this case, or rather this turnaround in Maharashtra, will serve as a precedent for a long time for all those people who are perhaps looking to sort of faction out of an existing party that they are a part of?
Yes, definitely, Vineet. This is, now it has been moved to a larger bench, and whenever this judgment happens, it's going to be a landmark judgment, because this is a case where, you have this party, which is almost a family-run party, but then there is this faction who are not happy with the way in which that ideology is being followed. So every party has some ideology or some basis on which it is formed. So if the people who are at the helm of affairs, if they are not following that ideology, it is very much possible that the rest of the people feel that this is not what they had signed up for. So this is something like, it's almost like a corporate kind of a situation here right now, where say maybe the board of members could find that the reason that they were a part of that corporate does no longer exist, and that is why they maybe changed the guard completely. So that seems to be the kind of a situation here, and maybe this could be a precedent, like you rightly said, for a lot of other parties also, where you see a lot of similar situations where people are not really happy with the way in which the top bosses are performing, or the way in which they're following the ideology. So there might be a disgruntled faction who may be a sizable number, but then some people are standing with the bosses and some people are not. So then this Supreme Court judgment would definitely be a strong precedent, and I hope that this actually makes way for people trying to actually take responsibility and not just look at their political party as their legacy, but as a responsibility, and that they follow their duties and not just look at it as something that they have got as a heredity from their forefathers. I think that they owe a responsibility towards following that ideology of their political party, and not just look at it as something they own. So this, I think, is going to be a landmark judgment, Vineet.
Rajalakshmi, it's also important to note that this is obviously going to take the Eknath Shinde-led ShivSena to newer heights. How do you think Eknath Shinde will be able to cement his place as a serious mover and shaker in the political corridors of not only Maharashtra but even nationally now?
Yes, definitely, Vineet. Balasaheb Thackeray also had a lot of followers in many other states, and not just in other states. In fact, he had followers across the country also, in Nepal also, if you're aware. So, there are, if those factions of the ShivSena also find some kind of a resonance, or they also feel connected with Eknath Shindeji, then he could have a national presence also. And even today he has found recognition among the national leaders also, and in Maharashtra at least his place has definitely become more significant, but at the same time definitely he definitely is dependent on the support of the BJP in Maharashtra, and that a lot of things wouldn't have been possible if it's not that these things happened because of the BJP, but then the government would not have been possible without the support of the BJP. So that is something that definitely he is dependent on the BJP right now, and it will take him some time to cement his position, of course, but he definitely has emerged as a stronger leader than being under the shadows of the Thackeray family. So he has definitely come out as a leader of his own, Vineet.
Rajalakshmi, there's a coalition at this point in time in Maharashtra. Is that something that you think Eknath Shinde will aspire to uphold and perhaps sustain and retain when the elections, assembly elections come by in Maharashtra?
Yes, they have already indicated that they will be fighting the elections in an alliance and in a coalition. So I think, these pre-poll alliances definitely make a lot of difference because then at least, you know how to strategize yourself rather than, later you trying to just mend or trying to make some adjustments. And also, when two parties are able to complement each other, then it's a different thing. But then it should not be a similar case of where, like what happened with Uddhav Thackeray, where he had an understanding with the BJP, but then he backed out at the last minute. And in fact, it was a big jolt to the BJP, and it was, he definitely has let down a lot of the voters of Maharashtra. And that is exactly where even Eknath Shinde ji and the entire BJP also, they had a lot of issues obviously with all this, because then I myself as a voter in Maharashtra, I felt so cheated that I had actually voted for a BJP alliance, and then I ended up having a government of led by the ShivSena, not in alliance with the BJP but with the NCP and the Congress, which I definitely did not want. So, I think that this pre-poll alliance and working in a coalition and strategizing accordingly, I think that will cement both the ShivSena, the Shinde faction of the ShivSena and the BJP also. The BJP already is quite strong, and then ShivSena also, Eknath Shinde has his own strengths also. But obviously now the next time when he faces the electorate as somebody who has broken away from the Uddhav Thackeray and that faction, that is when his real test will be. And the BJP, obviously, they are definitely strong in Maharashtra, but I think this coalition will make things even stronger.
Right, Rajalakshmi, and in what context would you say that Uddhav Thackeray will have, some sort of a fight-back spirit after what the Supreme Court said today?
Vineet, there were a lot of legal issues, which, I'm sure that now, henceforth, all parties will be definitely more vigilant, and they will be more alert about making sure that all these points are not crossed by them. And so I'm sure that he will try to make sure that he faces the electorate with even more strength, to make sure that any of these matters don't come in his way. So like right now, like I said, that even those people who are actually right now standing with the Uddhav Thackeray faction, they also are finding resonance with Eknath Shinde ji, and maybe they might have stood with him all this time, thinking that maybe Uddhav Thackeray ji will win. They may have thought so, but now they seem to be wanting to cross over. A lot of them. So they already, a lot of them are already towards the exit minute. Now when Eknath Shinde ji faces the electorate, obviously he will have to work harder, because even ShivSena is a cadre-based party. So then getting the support of the cadre, that is also going to be a challenge, because then initially when the MNI split from the ShivSena, and that time you did have some frictions at a lot of points. So then you need the cadre to be able to face the elections. Like even BJP also relies very heavily on the cadre, and that is the secret behind the success of the BJP. And even Eknath Shinde also is going to have to make sure that the cadre, they stay loyal to him, and that he proves to them that he is actually following the ideology of Bala Saheb Thackeray ji, because that the cadre of the ShivSena is very emotionally and sentimentally attached to the ideology of Bala Saheb Thackeray ji. So that is something that he is going to have to work on, making sure that not just the MLAs but the cadre and that the mass support is with him.